to your Joe straight up. Tank is original, individual. Go from analog to digital. Get beats with GB physical. From edge to end the beginning, the winner from pedal to post. You can get roast by this incredible host. Lyrics clean like the rap to your tender flows. Never ran alone when it comes to ripping words. The truth rolls in my mind, real like a bird. I get heard lately. Entertainment must make a drop go. Individual. Go from analog to digital. Get beats with GB physical. From edge to end lately. Entertainment must make a drop go crazy. Lyrics like first get refreshed now daily. I start box fair trade now, baby. Coming on the baseline, yeah, I go crazy.
Soul Hackers is the second game of Atlus's Shin Megami Tensei spin-off series, Devil Summoner. The first one, obviously just titled Devil Summoner, was released in late 1995. Soul Hackers has had 3 official releases. Firstly, on the Sega Saturn on November 13th, 1997, and then on April 8th, 1999, it was re-released on the PlayStation 1. The PlayStation 1 version added new story events, a new dungeon, and a casino for Paradigm X. Both the Sega Saturn and the PlayStation 1 versions have no international release. Many years later, Soul Hackers finally had its first international release on the Nintendo 3DS for North America in April 2013, and released for PAL regions in September of that year. The quote-unquote new dungeon that was added in the PlayStation 1 version was actually originally released as a physical add-on disc for the Sega Saturn, essentially an early version of DLC, foreshadowing Atlus's future DLC practices. The disc only had content for the new dungeon, and it required a completed Soul Hackers save file to access. Compared to the PlayStation 1 and 3DS versions of this dungeon, the Sega Saturn version had some slight layout changes, and the bosses of this dungeon were slightly different. I am playing the 3DS version of Soul Hackers emulated on PC, mainly because of the ease of recording, with also the ability to upscale the resolution to make the game look better. There's lots of really good 3DS emulators out there, however the one I like best is Citra. More specifically Citra Nightly because it gets all the updates first. In terms of gameplay, Soul Hackers resembles a classic SMT through and through, but with a very modern feel in UI and controls. There's first-person dungeon crawling, demon negotiation, fusion, magnetite, and basic RPG combat, meaning that there is no press turn system. Rather, you have a pretty basic JRPG elemental weakness system. Demons, however, work slightly differently. When a demon is either recruited or fused, they have a meter by their name indicating, from 1 to 5, their trust level with the player. Higher trust values determine how responsive to commands the demon will be during combat. At 5, they will always listen to the player's commands, and at 1, they'll just kinda do their own thing. Depending on the player's actions, the trust level of their demons can move up or down. A demon at 5 will always stay at 5. This trust level does not only affect how your demons listen to you, they can also decide to leave your party if the demon's trust level goes below 1. There are a variety of ways to get their trust level up. The easiest way is to gift them items. Liquor and precious gems are usually what they like, but some would rather the player prove themselves in battle to gain their respect. Party organization has changed also. Instead of cobbling together a party of demons from any alignment, the player will actually have to pay attention to that when constructing a party. There are the basic law, chaos, and neutral alignments. However, Soul Hackers adds 2 more alignments: extreme law and extreme chaos. The first 3 alignments will all get along with each other in an active party just fine. However, the 2 extreme alignments will not get along with anything that's opposite their alignment. So if the player had an extreme law demon in their party, they could not have any chaos demons at all. Luckily, this only affects the active party and not the player's stock. Demon negotiation is also affected by what is currently active in the party in a similar fashion. This approach with handling alignment and demons is leagues above prior Megami Tensei games, making party management a more thoughtful endeavor compared to the rest of the classic SMT series. Exploration is in the first person and grid base, which is pretty much unchanged from prior SMTs. Luckily though, since the Sega Saturn has better hardware than the SNES, a lot of the same issues I had with SMT2's exploration were gone. Added onto that, it is even better in the 3DS version because of the inclusion of a second screen that is always displaying the map, creating the best use of this type of exploration in any game that isn't Strange Journey. Magnetite is also back in full force too. In order to summon and keep demons active in the party, the player will need to have plenty of Magnetite on hand. Thankfully, that's a lot easier than in SMT2 since there's a new way to earn it, at the cost of your precious Maka. Battling in this game suffers the same issues as older SMTs face. A lot of times it's a bit of a slog. The highlights are at the beginning of new areas and boss fights. I personally like the press turn system more because it feels much more dynamic compared to selecting 6 moves, confirming, and hoping things go well. However, that isn't to say this game's combat is bad at all. It's one of the most modern versions of the classic style, and it shows. The UI is fast and looks great, and there are a lot of quality of life things added too. Like the ability to repeat the previous turn's actions and selectively choose which demons will be on auto instead of having the whole party auto attack. Just don't forget to use buffs, retard. In terms of plot, I would say Soul Hackers resembles a Persona game more than a traditional SMT game. Rather than being built around choices that determine alignment and thusly what type of experience and ending the player gets, Soul Hackers decides to throw all that alignment junk out the window, instead focusing more on its characters and narrative. There are still multiple endings, but they really aren't that different from each other. Soul Hackers takes place in a fictional harbor town on the west coast of Japan called Amami City. A company called Algonsoft is based there and has upgraded all the city's technology. The government of Japan is so impressed with this city that they give Algonsoft permission to expand its network and technologies to the rest of the country. While that's going on, Algonsoft is also co-developing a virtual city called Paradigm X. The main cast of characters are a group called the Spookies, a group of grey hat hackers that kinda just do whatever they want, mainly harmless pranks. However, the leader Spooky has some history with Algonsoft. The group has a very close connection to each other, brought together through their love of hacking and technology. It shows in how they talk to each other, using a lot of video game and networking nomenclature. There's a lot of fun interactions and banter between them. In my opinion, the setting in this game is one of the best. It has a 90s cyberpunk feel, a lot of black and light neon greens and blues. The world around the cast is extremely interesting to explore also. Looking below the surface of daily life reveals the shady hidden world of devil summoners and the Kuzunoha. My favorite character of the game is Nemessa, a demon that possesses the protagonist's friend Hitomi. All of the dialogue she has is great and is an amazing party member. Graphically, this game still holds up today. Atlus really took advantage of the Saturn's 32-bit capabilities. Sprites have increased fidelity, 2D character portraits are now possible, and full motion video, allowing the game to have cutscenes. The way battles pop in is very stylized and fits the futuristic vibe. Soul Hackers also features a techno-synth soundtrack that's able to encompass a variety of themes. The main tracks that stand out to me are To conclude, Soul Hackers manages to retain the same gameplay and feel of classic SMT, while modernizing it in every regard, with a plot and world that's incredibly interesting and fun to get into, adorned with great sprite work and dialogue that gives Soul Hackers its personality, making it into a game that's excellent for modern fans who want to try their hand at older SMT games. The dungeons aren't that long, and the game is very middling in difficulty. It took me around 35 hours to beat. I highly recommend you play this game if it looks interesting at all. Thank you for watching, and if you want to see more, I'm sure you know what to do. See ya.